Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Workflows and Espressos. I'm your host, Meaghan Myers, and we're back with another knowledge filled episode coming to you live from Disney World. I am here this week with my sister, who is also my very best friend, and my two nephews, Otis and Oscar. They are 5 and 7 and we're having so much fun. Today was our first full park day. So as I'm recording this, I've been at Animal Kingdom all day and we're going back to the parks tonight. So I thought to myself, why not just set up my laptop and my mic and record an episode while I'm waiting to go back to the other park? They're at the pool right now. But if you don't know this about me, listen, the term Disney adult is offensive, okay? I wouldn't consider myself a Disney adult. Like, Clark and I definitely don't go on vacations to Disney World, just the two of us, but I do love it so much. And I don't know if it's growing up for the most part in Florida and coming here for vacations. There's just something about it, okay? It's magical. I'm 31. I still feel the magic. I love it so much. It is very tiring, and I eat more in Disney World than I do anywhere else on the entire planet, but we're having a lot of fun so far. We're staying at the Animal Kingdom Lodge, so there's, like, giraffes right outside our door, and I'm certainly in my Disney merch because I have not changed since I got back from the park. But today, actually, my sister took my nephews on a ride, and I sat on a bench outside the ride, and I started thinking about what I wanted to talk about today. And the first thing that popped into my mind was owner touch points. And I've talked about owner communication before, mainly in the vein of communicating difficult information to owners and also knowing when to fire owners. But I broke down the what I consider to be like fundamental weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annual owner touch points, what I recommend communicating at those specific times, and then just like overall thoughts around communication. So sit back, relax, enjoy your drive to work or your shower if you're like me and you listen to podcasts in the shower, or maybe you're at your desk right now and you're Dave Krause and you're watching this on YouTube. In that case, I apologize that you're looking at me in my Disney merch. Let's get into it. Okay, so weekly owner touchpoint recommendations. The first thing that I always encourage sharing with owners on a weekly basis are the wins. So, if a major booking comes through or demand is up for their property and you're getting a lot of inquiries and you're starting to see some conversions come in, let them know. Owners love to hear good news. And I think a lot of the time, the news that we are sharing with them is either in response to a question they've asked, a question where we need permission to make a purchase, or bad news, hey, a leak has happened, or there's damage to your property, or they're reaching out because they're upset about reservations. So, anytime that we get good news, even if it's great feedback, like, hey, we just received an amazing review and they specifically talked all about the decor in your home. So, just wanted to text you and let you know the guests love the decor and they're raving about it. Some good news. Number one, I think it always shows, hey, we're looking at the feedback. Your house is a priority to us, even if we do manage hundreds of homes. And we're committed to sharing the whole range of information with you, good and bad and ugly. So share the good news, share the wins. I think if you can, and I'm not encouraging you to share one piece of good news with every single owner every single week, but I do think as things come up, it does not hurt to send the quick text message. So, with that being said, any issues that come up, I do think is important to share on a weekly basis. So don't let owners hear something from someone else. Like, make sure that you're breaking news early and directly. If there is a leak, if there was damage in the home, if you do need permission to make a purchase on their behalf, if something has happened, you don't want it to be the guest reached out to them on Facebook. You don't want it to be their next door neighbor saw the guest leaving that you just kicked out. Like, you wanna make sure that you are the one that's sharing that news and controlling that message, I think is super important. and that you're being really direct with the information that you are sharing. I think it's pretty easy to beat around the bush when you have bad news. And we'll talk a little bit about this when we get into revenue information, but specifically as it relates to something that is impactful to a homeowner and about their investment, break the news early and break it directly. And then anytime that you are going to check in on the property, or not anytime, but a lot of the times, I think it's always great to send a text, send a picture. Hey, I'm at your house. Everything looks great. Just wanted to check in with you. Whether you have dedicated owner relations team members or it's you and you're the owner of the business, or you are a property manager and owner relations team member, I think it's great to stay proactive in that communication. Owners love when you're checking in on their property, they want to know that information. And I think it's always great to let them know that you're present and taking care of their investment. Even if nothing's wrong, a quick, hey, I'm here, everything looks amazing, builds confidence. And they know that you're there, that you're doing your job, that you're on site, and they're confident in you. And then, of course, any proactive maintenance updates that come up. So, hey, a simple, we checked the house, everything's in great shape. Or, hey, just got back from your house and it looks like the AC is having a couple issues. We're having someone come and look at it. I think a lot of this communication really determines on the type of owner that you have. And I think as part of your relationship grows and you learn more about your homeowner and they learn more about you, you can understand how they like to be communicated with, the cadence in which they like to be communicated with. And you'll kind of know, like, some of these touch points might seem way too much for some homeowners that are like, look, I want you to send me a bill once a month and I don't really give a damn about my home or anything else. But I think it's just a lesson in general and getting to know your client and who you're communicating with and what they like to hear, what they want to hear. I always, and I'll talk about this too, stray on the side of over communicating versus under communicating. I think disengaged owners are the ones who typically tend to leave the program. So when it comes to managing attrition in general, especially if you're in a market that has a really high churn, I think keeping owners engaged and over communicating rather than under communicating is always the way to go. Okay, monthly. Let's get into it. Okay, so one thing that I love to do once a month is send a revenue update. And I think this could really be however you want to break it down. You could either do it on the company level, you could do it at the community level, like location wise. You could do it at the property manager level. So a property manager could send an individual update to all of their homeowners. It really just depends on your team's bandwidth and what you want to share. But I always think that sharing tailored revenue information with a homeowner frequently is better than not sharing anything at all. The next thing that I think is great to share monthly are any personalized recommendations. So, for example, like a small proactive suggestion, like guests keep mentioning that there is a lack of couch pillows in the living room. Would you be interested in adding additional couch pillows? Or guests have communicated numerous times that your sound system is really confusing to learn. Would you be willing to go to a universal remote or switch to Sonos instead? I think any type of that feedback that you're giving back to the homeowners rather than just absorbing that information and not doing anything with it is great. Owners want to know, of course, like you're listening to the guests, you're looking into their feedback, and you're making suggestions on how they can make their property better. And then, along with the owner statements, I always think it's great to send out an email just when you release funds for the month that says, hey, owner statements have been sent out, payments are being released, and it should hit your bank account within the next X amount of time. So, quarterly updates, we're getting a little bit more high level, not necessarily like more important information, but I do think overall for like big picture, it's great. I think quarterly is a great opportunity to send a company newsletter. So when I think of a company newsletter, I think any updates that you might have made to your team in the last quarter, any changes in processes that you may have made. Let's say you have decided to switch from track to guesty or from guesty to streamline, and just letting your owners know that ahead of time. Hey, our owner portal is changing in the next couple of months or weeks. We'll share that information with you as it comes. Or, hey, we just did a team retreat and we're really focused on these 3 things for the next quarter. Any like special guest reviews, or let's say you want to pick a property of the quarter. I just think it's great to allow owners to engage with your team and be up to date on any news as it relates to the company and how that might impact them. And of course, like, this is totally up to you on what type of information you want to share and what type of owners you have. I think if you have a smaller company with 100 units and maybe your units are all really close to each other and a lot of your homeowners know each other, I think a newsletter could be really great to share more information about your team. Whereas maybe you have homes all over the country and you manage 2,000 properties, sending individual, like, localized newsletters might be great. Or you might send like a corporate level newsletter to just kind of let the team know or let the homeowners know about team updates at the entire company level. Totally up to you, but I do think it's so great. Newsletters humanize you and lets homeowners know that you are people on the other end, and at the other side of their owner statement, there is a real guest staying in their house, and there's a real maintenance tech making sure that the home is taken care of, and a real housekeeper cleaning their home on every single turn. So just keeping those human touches and connections to your team, I think, is really special. And a quarterly level is perfect because you're not getting too inundated with that information. You're not exhausted putting it together. It's something you do 4 times a year, and you can kind of collect that information throughout the quarter and send it out. I think it is always great to solicit feedback. I love NPS. I think it's great because it's one question. If you wanted to send either NPS or something a little bit more in depth, I think it's a really great opportunity quarterly to do an owner experience, like, check in. Just a quick pulse check. How do homeowners feel about your services? Are they happy with your performance? And get ahead of any dissatisfaction. I think NPS has really shown me on multiple occasions where we could have performed better with our homeowners at a quarterly or even at a monthly level. I think quarterly is great because you're not inundating them with emails, but you're still getting that quarterly pulse check. And then if you're looking for something more frequent, I think that's when it comes down to the people that are communicating with the owners on a daily basis. The property managers, the owner relations team members, they're the ones who are gauging that dissatisfaction. And then any regulatory or industry updates, I think those can be wrapped into the newsletter just to keep them in the loop about any changes that could impact the rental landscape. I think we have been at a pivotal moment in the industry for a while where regulations are very impactful. I know they were in Jackson a couple of years ago, and a lot of times owners want to be on your side of the fight and are willing to attend those council meetings when they're in town with you, and just communicating to them, "Hey, this piece of regulation has popped up. Here's what we're doing about it." I haven't said this yet in this episode, but I've said it a million times before. One thing I think is so, so, so important when communicating any challenges, problems, always providing context and a potential solution, I think is super helpful. I think it can be, especially when you're paying someone for their services, when they reach out to you about a problem and kind of expect you to solve it, it can be frustrating. And I do think there are times where, it's gonna be the owner's ultimate decision, but reaching out and saying, "Hey, we have had this leak. We've got 3 options. You could either do mold remediation and leave things the same. You could either do mold remediation and completely replace your flooring. You could," right? Like, providing context and solutions and options for these homeowners, that is what they are paying us for, right? To make their lives easier, and I think that it just shows a level of professionalism and dedication on our end when we can reach out to them directly with issues that we're seeing and then offer a remedy. So I feel that on the regulatory changes as well. Hey, here are the regulations. Here's what we're doing to fight against them. Or here's how we are planning to adhere to new regulation because it looks like it's going to be passed no matter what we do. I think it's just important. Um, I'm flying through this, but I'm feeling good. This has is honestly a really fun topic because I think we talk a lot about the guest journey and guest touch points. And I don't think we talk enough about how often to be communicating with homeowners and what to be communicating with homeowners. So I'm actually really excited for this conversation. And is it considered a conversation if I'm just talking at you? Apologies. I wish that you were here on the other side and could give me your thoughts and feedback. Okay. So, annual communication. The hardest part of this that I think is probably the most necessary is communicating what updates need to be done. So, oftentimes, we know we have those homeowners that get the same complaint on their disgusting couch that has stains and is old and it's uncomfortable, and every single guest complains about it and says the owner needs to replace this couch, and the owner says, "No, no, 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 no." I think that every single year, taking stock of homeowners' updates that need to happen, period, for you to feel comfortable moving forward managing their home is very important. Like, make a list, have the property managers go into the homes, you go through the photos, whatever that looks like for you, and then going and either picking up the phone and calling your homeowners or sending them an email and saying, "Hey, in order to move forward with reservations for next year, you have to do X." I think it is so, so important. We are the property managers. We are setting and we are maintaining standards, and that is our brand. That is our name. When people come and stay with us, they remember that I've stayed with Meaghan Properties. They don't know that they're staying really at John Smith's house, that house that he owns. So, what updates would make this property either more appealing? I think those are the ones that are not necessarily mandatory. So maybe you make 2 lists, and this is the list that is absolutely mandatory updates. If you do not do those things, we cannot move forward managing your home. And then I think it's important to make a second list of things that will make a vacation rental more attractive and potentially increase revenue, and send those updates to the homeowner. So, I would consider those like the home improvement lists, and I think that's really, really, really important on an annual basis, especially as you're starting to work on your budget, because those updates impact the overall projection of the property. So, when I was working for Outpost, one thing that Outpost did that I thought was really, really great is they sent out an annual market report, and we were the only people in Jackson, the only vacation rental company that did that. And I thought it was really helpful, and it wasn't just shared with homeowners, it was also shared with realtors, and it was also shared with potential homeowners. It got sent to all of our employees, and throughout the year, we would share this market report with, potential owners as a business development tool. So the market report showed all of the specific data to Jackson, the rental data in the past year. So ADR, it showed RevPAR over the course of the year. It showed we would get data from the airport to show what direct flights were the most popular, what months were the busiest at the airport, what months were the slowest, what percentages of guests are flying versus driving, and all of this information was shared with the homeowner. And it was really, really great because the owner is not going to get their self together and go aggregate all of this data. So, using it as a selling point was fantastic. And then also sharing it with our existing homeowners was a really great retention tool. I think just having the ability to provide insights into performance trends and opportunities is really helpful because owners don't have the time, nor do they want to put this data together, and they also don't know how to source it. So, if you're using key data, if you have a relationship with either your CVB or your local DMO, I think it's always great to get together and share some data and build a market report for your market and share with owners or potential homeowners. I think is really, really, really an awesome selling tool. And then any performance strategies. So, say you decide every year to share a annual projection with your homeowners, or let's say your homeowners require that of you. Now's the time to communicate that. And then also looking back at an individual property level. Here's what you're ending at. Here's what your expectations were, and here's how we are going to fix the gap. next year. And here's why we missed the gap this year if you did so, or if you exceeded their expectations. I think that's, of course, a great time to share that with your homeowner. So any pertinent revenue information, and every single company is different. I know some companies that have monthly revenue goals that are all shared with the homeowners. I definitely don't recommend. And I also know companies that don't share any revenue goals with homeowners. So maybe this doesn't apply to you. And then some homeowners have a revenue goal and some don't. Maybe everyone does and only some owners know about it. It's totally up to you. But I think it's just a really great time to set those baseline expectations in terms of revenue, particularly for the homeowners that are extremely revenue driven, and get those communications out early, often, and directly now. Okay, so we've talked about monthly, weekly, quarterly, annual touch points in the owner journey. I have some takeaways. So, my first takeaway, or thought, I guess I should say, piece of advice is that if it is too quiet, reach out. I told you a little bit ago, I believe that disengaged owners are the ones who are most likely to churn. I think silence is the first sign of disengagement. If you don't hear from an owner for a while, check in before they check out. I think it is really great to have an understanding of the last time all of your owners have been spoken to, and go through that list, and the owners that you spoke to the longest ago, reach out to those people. If you are the owner, you're the person running the company, make sure those top 20 homes, you're communicating with those homeowners as much as you possibly can. Of course, depending on their preferences, but over communication is better than under communication 10 times out of 10. Break the bad news early and directly. Nobody likes surprises, myself included, unless they're good. And addressing issues head on is always going to work out better for you, and making sure that you are coming with a plan for any of those issues that have arisen. Which leads us to my next thought: offering solutions to all problems. Position yourself as a trusted partner above all else, and not just a messenger of problems or bad news. I think even if a solution isn't ideal, owners are going to appreciate the effort that you have made to present a solution to them. It is worth it every single time, even if it's an uncomfortable conversation. Fire the jerks. Listen, we had a whole episode about this, but it is very clear that not every owner is a good fit. It's just, they're not. And protecting your team and, of course, your business by parting ways with toxic clients will win out every single time. Fire the jerks. It is worth it. And then setting expectations early, and maybe this should be number one when an owner first comes on your program, but be upfront about communication. Be upfront about what homeowners can expect on your program, whether that's communication cadence, revenue goals, your company standards, what you expect from them, what they should expect from you, your team, and what your processes look like. Be upfront about it. It is worth it. It is worth the extra communication early on, to save miscommunication down the road. And then everybody says it. I love the saying, under promise, over deliver. Owners are going to trust you more if you are realistic and upfront and consistently exceed their expectations. I would rather tell a homeowner, hey, it's going to take me a week to get back to you and get back to them in 2 days, than tell them it's going to take me 2 days and get back to them in a week. I think under promising and over delivering is used not even enough. And people say it all the time. It is so, so, so important, and just goes back to setting those expectations. So I have loved talking about owner checkpoints, touch points with you. And I'm curious what other touch points you would add or maybe remove from this list. I thought about, if you have a linen program, communicating your annual or monthly linen assessment fee, if you do charge that to your homeowners, would be huge. Any deep clean or annual maintenance information is important. Just as I was like talking, I was thinking of more things. So maybe I do like a separate owner touch points on all things operations later on, but go to workflowsandespressos.com and ask Megan, or you can always text or message me on LinkedIn if you think there's anything that I should add, and maybe we do a part 2 to this conversation. I I think it's not talked about enough. So I really want to focus on owner communication in 2025 and continue to talk about it and bring it to the forefront of all of our minds. Our guests are incredible. Making experiences is so, so, so important, but we would not have guests without owners. And I mean, obviously, we wouldn't have owners without guests either. But what came first, the chicken or the egg? I think in this case, it's the owners. I look forward to seeing you all and talking to you all next week. And if you are at the track conference this week, I hope you have the best time. Look out for the In Haven booth, and Ashley and our head merchant, Nikki, will be there. I am so excited to see you all at VR Nation in just a couple of months. And I'll see you next week. Okay, bye.